Chilly here with Sirius Tellus Moon. This is Mercury, our Venus day, actually Mars night, and the midheaven and midheaven innocent at 26 degrees, Gemini and Virgo, Mercury 5 degrees Aquarius. Look at this Aquarius stellium, and this is Mars night, Mars ingressed into Aquarius. So, big round of applause for the stellium in Aquarius. So, I have been following this. This is my 12th house, and wow, having a ton of planets transiting the 12th is just, I don't know. I have the ruler in the ninth, so I just watch travel videos and stuff. The moon is 3 degrees Aries, and Mars is ruling over Chiron and ruled by Saturn at 27 degrees Pisces. First of all, a little bit of Mars in Aquarius. It's very difficult to tell the different planets because they're all in there together now. It's, Pluto's Sun conjoining at 3 degree Aquarius, and this is a very powerful. um, Sun is leadership, Aquarius is humanity, Pluto is power, politics, the occult, and and Aquarius is also science. Saturn is in Pisces, so there's something about worldview and religion. But Jupiter is 18 degrees Cancer, which means that we're dealing with the implications of toxic worldviews, and it can be a situation where each of the leading figures has both limiting toxic beliefs. Okay, so this is where everybody has limiting toxic beliefs, but also reality check of where we have been toxically positive, which can be a Jupiter trait as well. For example, Jupiter is the planet that's to do with choice, and toxic positivity can disregard the limitation Saturn on choice. I saw a video of a lady, MIPAC lady, that talks about a law, the SAVE law, being passed, and that means that only women whose name is the same as their birth certificate, which means women, even if they're married, that haven't changed their name, will be able to vote. So, for example, my mom, even after divorce, kept her husband's name. In United States, if she was a resident, she wouldn't be able to vote, which is beyond crazy. Um, but this is something um, that has been happening, and you think about toxic beliefs about, oh, well, it's a democracy, everybody can vote, everybody can change the regime. Saturn here reminding us that it's not always so, that the accessibility to the procedure Saturn is not always there. So it can be the limitations on choice being a reality check to toxic positivity or belief in choice that is downright toxic. It's like it's a wonderful to believe in choice and points of interferences. We just need to be able to have them. The real points of interferences. So it's both a reality check, but also we still run the risk of having toxic beliefs that could be limiting. Um, for example, people that went through ritual abuse, which is very Saturn Pisces, okay, Pisces religion, but also helplessness, having to surrender something, and Saturn is the limitation to that, and it can also be ritual. Um, so where it's not dedication, it is basically the attempt to get at the dedication form of Saturn to spirituality, by ritual abuse, or what people call spiritual warfare. So, um, because Saturn is ruling all this stellium, and amongst which Sun and Pluto, we still run into um, rejuvenating leadership roles or rejuvenating our beliefs. However, the Sun opens a synodic cycle with Pluto, with the ruler of the ruler being in the 18th degree, which is denoting at there is something to do with toxic beliefs about fertility, about nourishment, about housing, about care, about mothering, about food, even about nations, a tribe. Okay, all things, all things, and the new or militant, because the moon now is in Aries, and this is where it's a new cycle, just like the Venus Pluto cycle. There is a toxic belief facet to it. So we have to both keep in mind where we're being toxically positive, and Saturn can give us a reality check, and where we could have toxic limiting beliefs um, that are the underlying reason that something doesn't grow or that something is not eliminated, if it's a risk or something of that sort. Um, Mars into Aquarius. Mars Aquarius. Now, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, but in Aquarius, it's also ruled by Saturn, which means, um, let's just say it's sextiling Aries, which is the sign that it rules. It does square Scorpio. So, Saturn in Aquarius is great for any architecture work. It's taking action to design a structure. However, because Jupiter is still in 18 degrees, is tending to the points of interferences in a structure of toxic beliefs. Or definitely, people may try to reconstruct or deconstruct certain belief system, world structure, and Aquarius can be dogmatic, and we run the risk of being fundamentalist with this one. Okay. Um, it's just Aquarius being Aquarius. Aquarius will resist something and then vehemently support something. Um, but it's also um, coming to liberate some of our notions. For example, I was thinking today, the ruler again is in my ninth, so I was, and Saturn is in the sign of traveling, about the fact that, hey, if Iran is kind of like regimely collapsing, perhaps it will be worth to live there if there are going to be more women rights eventually. So it's kind of like, hey, is Iran? Should we move to Iran? Um, so this is, perhaps Americans are thinking about that, and um, Mars is closing a cycle with Pluto, and I think it's even closing it on the same degree or about the same degree, which is degree 3. So this week Mars is going through the rejuvenation with Pluto, which is always very intense. Okay, it's the taboo of 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 taboo, and the dual complexity around each and every layer of the taboo. And then this again. Now, this is very powerful transformation and rejuvenation. We could be severing ties with that one. But definitely those that have tried to do Mars abrasively are in for a 2.5 year cycle closing of whatever it is they thought to accomplish with that. Okay, so it's basically, for example, I've been addressing behind the Epstein list or death row list or Rolodex lists that there is a mind control mechanism. So much so that one can really see, and I love that the light addressed that, um, one can really see a person, that person being targeted, that person can have several consciousnesses, so much so that if you that people can actually identify the consciousnesses. Have I seen it on doing mundane astrology on servant leaders? Yes, I have. Um, okay. Is it because they have, how should I say that? Sometimes bystanders or doubles. Sometimes, not always. How do I know to identify? Well, I just know the phenomena. I can't tell you that I'm going to be 100%. And there's also AI, which is another facet to consider. So it can be occult stuff, AI stuff, just people, humanity being humanity. Um, and then it can be intentional stuff, can be non-intentional stuff. There's so much as, first of all, with computer interface, they can upload somebody's consciousness, which can be cool, but when they use it for like warfare stuff, it can be also really weird. And so, Aquarius in general is the man in the machine. Um, in occult stuff, they can psychically torture two people and then swap their energies and have a third party just harassing another person. And it's a part of the way in which they cause chaos. Okay, so Chiron, um, still somewhat conjoining Aries in Aries, planet of chaos and discord. And the discord is about identity. Who is behind it? Is it intentional? Is it not intentional? Really fucking annoying. But also, that's, and yes, that is relevant also for the, both for the non for the astral and for the 3D so-called plane. Um, that's what I've seen. Again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I definitely would not ignore layers of reality, because that can run the risk of, Saturn is implications. So, and another thing is that, in spiritual warfare, they love seeing what people believe and ritually attacking that. Um, Again, it exposes the facade that beliefs are basically egregores, and it collapses one layer into a layer of culture, whether social, political, spiritual culture. And again, if people are peopling, then then okay, then they see that it's a ritual abuse. If people are fundamentalists, they are going to have a more difficult time, um, because it's less flexible. And so with people that try to alter their beliefs, um, it can have both malleability that can not save them, but move them through various maneuvering tactics. But it can also have its limitation. And um, okay, and that can be kind of like a reality check, or where we do want to have kind of a cohesive structure, which with this Jupiter is not all that easy to achieve. Um, Jupiter here can emphasize the philosophy or of evil or evil religions, um, teachings of evil, but this is pertaining to even psychological, something psychological, because the moon can be emotional, psychological, um, and more, and about care as well. So it can also be militarizing the people, because this is attack against civilians with the moon. Jupiter in the sign of the moon in Aries is attack against individuals of the people. Aries individual, moon the people. So basically, it's targeting individuals, type of transit. Um, you know, several years ago, I said they're gonna know what's energy, and then there was spiritual warfare. Um, and this one is, people are gonna understand that targeted individuals is not a conspiracy theories. My prediction for this cycle. A little bit sad. I'm trying to think about something positive. The positive, perhaps, is the real pragmatic stuff that many people will be dealing with that problem. So at least they will be aware that it is an issue, and that it is a problem. Not, I know it's not the most positive things to say, but this is something that, yes, let me see if I'm, no, not, nothing too Saturnian. So I guess I'm probably, um, probably correct about that. And more to say about the stellium. First of all, everything is in the first decan of Aquarius. So people with placement in the first decan of Aquarius, um, this is, it's going to, soon enough, all these planets are going to go to the second decan and leave Pluto bugging you for several years. and and that's that. Um, and then it's going to bug the people with the middle decan and the end decan, um, towards February. Now, what does this big, giant, megalithic monument in the sign of architecture of society is here to do this month? Is something I'm even figuring out. First of all, the immediacy, the almost conspicuous immediacy in which Greenland, um, allocated through Denmark, by Denmark allocated parts of Greenland. But again, Greenland has a government, so they share a monarchy. I found it quite conspicuous how that was so smooth. And when something is so smoothly running, um, I wonder, is it actually that smooth? Is it actually okay? Is it actually going to run this smoothly? Now Chiron is direct. Um, yes, only Uranus is retrograde, but that only. Jupiter is retrograde. Um, so we could be, so certain people could be toxically positive about the smoothness of the move, and it could be that there are certain segments that are planning on that smoothness of the move not being borne out. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, for me, when I looked at the astrocartography there, it looked like something that is disturbing, and fated at the same time. Is kind of like one of the combinations that I don't like seeing. And I have it in my chart as well, in a different, completely different expression of it. Um, but it's something that, if there's one of the combinations I don't like seeing is Rahu 22ing, and the native going to Rahu Rahu. astrocartography line is kind of like, well, he is fulfilling the natal promise, but I don't know if that's. And by the way, for the aviation stuff, we had the prediction of the technician of the plane being mind controlled was borne out. And yes, nothing happened, but Jupiter 18 degrees is strongly accentuating. Actually, remember what I said about. Did I post this episode? What I said is something about aviation, something about citizens, but with Moon in Aries, it's citizen number one, and that's exactly what happened. So there was a technical issue with Air Force One, and um, yes, and that was fortunately like nothing happened, and but yeah, that was the prediction. I did not expect that to be Trump, but yes, with Uranus on his midheaven, um, that is something that happened. Jupiter 18 degrees really accentuates, okay, the coming days with the moon in Aries, particularly when the moon goes over Chiron. Okay, moon goes over Chiron. Let's see where Jupiter at. Yeah, moon going over Chiron, Jupiter still 18ing. Um, that's not pretty. Okay, that's a 22er, and it can be a malfunction. Now, it can be curation to malfunction that could have assassin, which we've already seen. But it can also be something else, and this is where moon going over Chiron, when Mars is so close to closing a cycle with Pluto, something I don't like seeing. Okay, so not the best time for aviation, not commercial flight, and like I said, citizen number one. So whether it's Air Force One, any prime minister, okay, any citizen number one, um, I think it's more a representative role it's not a monarch as I see it. Is it a military general? There has to be something of the people. So granted, it is not flying economy. It can involve economy flights, or Falcon like Rutte that have been prime ministers and now are secretary generals should be um, taking stuff into consideration. That's the only case I see where somebody was both citizen number one and has a military commanding position that I know of. Benjamin Netanyahu could be as well if he's still Minister of Security. Um, Again, when the Prime Minister shares a, head, a militant role, it gives extra risk to this type of transits. Um, Downright military, well, civilians in the military, aviation. Again, 2 days warning. Okay, it's 2 days warning, and then Jupiter goes into 17 degree Cancer. It leaves the 18 degree. We still got Saturn in the 8 of Pisces. Neptune will already be in Aries. God damn it! It's mythical military closure of something to do with mind control hacking technologies. How many times did I need to defund that? Oh, god damn it. Um, okay, Neptune ingress into Aries is basically on January 26th, meaning that we're going to have something, a mythical facet added to whatever events we'll have. But this is, now the ingress is on the 26th. The ingress is on the 26th. The one is going to be mid-decan Taurus by then. That's okay. But the days before are kind of risky. we get that Neptune from the 29-degree Pisces. It's still a mythical issue. Plane can go missing and so on and so forth. Um, but it's not that 0-degree Aries thing. It was going to have to. It's more closing a 15-year cycle than opening one. Um, Mars is going to be degree 1, 2 degrees away from Pluto. Sun is going to be degree 5, royal leader. It can be a royal leader, monarchy, or a leader that has some sort of a kingship authority. And it's Saturn, 28 degrees Pisces. Okay. Um, okay. And Jupiter, 18 degree. Ah. Yeah. Oh, damn. It's code red for Mark Rutte. Um, it's code red. That's a Saturn return. On the money. It's the last. I think, I don't know when was the Zelensky incident. There was the Zelensky incident. There was the retrograde, which I don't remember. And now there's this one with this thing. The core issue is that technicians are mind controlled. The technicians, the technical people regarding aviation are mind controlled, and are subjected to nervous system hacking. That is what can set off something, and it will pertain them on their beliefs. So it's the beliefs of the technicians. Um, and Mars, Pluto, Aquarius, Saturn. It's the structure, it's the skeletal structure of the plane. Can also be the engine. There's something to do. Saturn is the skeletal part, and it can be leaking of toxic gas, which we saw in the last days. It can be like really, really watch out if the weather is not good. Don't okay like it can be something as simple as a Challenger where the weather was not good, but something to the skeletal issue. They can be I don't think it's erosion, if it's something, but separating from Uranus, but it's far enough from Uranus. Um, mm, 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 mm. Something can get overheated and they can emit toxins. Okay, something in the skeletal of the plane can get overheated and emit toxins. It can be something that fractures with something or collapses inwards, and it can be because of the air pressure. Those things, but it's also something to do with the beliefs of the technician, is how they are being controlled. And there would be an issue around the identity. It's basically it would mean that if the technician, let's say, did a mistake, it's not the technician's consciousness necessarily there. It can be both AI, mind control, person-to-person mind control, or AI interface mind control. That's basically what I can think about with this yoga, with this combination of planets. Why is it Saturn return? Okay. Now, because it's Chiron, and because it's the fourth touch on Chiron, um, It can be that the issue has been curated. If the issue has been curated, then we'll probably see that we might not even hear about it. If the issue has been really curated, we might not even hear about that. Or it will be like what happened with Mr. Trump, which is there was some technical issues and they had to fix them. Um, if the weather is not good, that's an important thing. Um, the curation of anything nervous system hacking. Nervous system hacking weapon is basically something that I think is going to be the biggest issue because there are going to be a lot of implications to that. It's kind of like the A bombs. In the A bombs, we had a lot of implications to actually using the A bombs, and I think this one is next up in its technology base of it. Now again, those things could be centuries old, so we could be having an issue that either has already been there before, but with Aries, they're going to be something new. So the new can be an identity, but the new can also be a technology with Mars in Aquarius. And this is where I think that this is at. Um, okay, there are many things that I can think about. Some of them are quite satirical. I'm not going to share all of them, but this is something to really be aware of. Aquarius is associated with Kundalini energy. The attempt to abrupt or intervene in the Kundalini energy here can cause that. Bildenberg and Belden, okay? I know what I'm talking about, so, and this is something that can end, okay? Now, do I see it as something literal? Not from the apparent planets, okay? Would that be shown in an in-depth analysis? I don't know. I don't delineate people's endings, okay? So I don't. I tend to be, perhaps, hopefully, I'm not toxically positive. I tend to think it'll probably be okay. It's just gonna be something that is an implication too, and that implication arises. And I think this one is going to be. I think this one is going to be Rutte or Rutte on the plane. Rutte was on the plane with Trump, no? He was on the plane with Trump when that happened. So both of them have midheavens around the end and decan of Taurus around Uranus. um, so that is what I have to say about that. I'll just be, I'll just be watching cautiously this week. It is a chart I've been accompanying for a year now, I think. And started off with the Saturn return, shit ton of transits, Jupiter going retrograde on a Jupiter return, and then moving on to other transits. But this is witnessing a Saturn return at such a open level, okay, at the leadership level. As an astrologer, it has been a year for me. Okay. Moving on. Let's take a look. First of all, the minute Neptune ingresses to Aries, right around these hours, we're going to have Jupiter leaving the 18th degree. And then we're kind of done with the really toxic mishaps. There are going to be some other mishaps. I mean, Venus 11 degrees Aquarius. So, but Chiron's still 22ing, but at least Jupiter is going to be out of that toxic aviation degree to the days of Saturn Neptune at the last degrees of Pisces. Um, we got to think since 2012, and we got to think of all the shipwrecks and the like. Don't submerge it. Billionaires, don't submerge yourself in the oceans. We discovered that Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein have submarines down there. Can we call the bottom of the ocean down there? Um, yeah, just joking about this. This was my closest approximation to talking about sexuality in a light way in the past freaking year, beyond horrid. Anyway, and it was that one. So, yeah, Neptune ingresses January 26. This is the for good ingress of Neptune. Being there lonely until being there not so low key until Saturn joins it mid February to megalitically and dramatically change the world in an over a millennia, once in over a millennia type of transit. It's gonna take a year long, and literally none of us really know to predict. I mean, we have I've been predicting a lot, and I think 2-3 years of predictions, and so have other astrologers, and I think none of us really knows to predict because it's once in over a millennia. Okay, kind of like the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjuncted, and the world was North Korea for quite some time. Um, yes. So, those are those are kind of like the bigger issues that are coming up. Two things I'm looking at with the stellium in Aquarius is the context of the eclipse we're going to have in February. And this is the stellium, this is the last planets to go through Aquarius before it eclipses in Aquarius in 28 degrees Aquarius, and particularly the Cancer ascendants. Okay? Cancer ascendants don't get the privilege to swipe things under the rugs. Okay? Particularly not when Saturn is applying to conjoin Neptune. Like, yeah, those hands underneath them gloves better be clean. And those actions those hands do with the gloves better also be clean. Because, and not in the sense of cleaning after, because Saturn, Neptune, that doesn't get to conceal shit. That doesn't get, things can go missing, but it's the things they counted on going viral. Things can go viral, but it's the things they counted on going missing. So, and as everything Neptune, one have to surrender. It kind of reminds me when Richard Feynman spoke about the Mayas, and he was given a lecture, and he was thinking about the entire history of the Mayas being erased, and think about the entire history of being erased, and there's only 2 or 3 books, and you don't get to choose which. That's the type of transit we're talking about. Now, I don't necessarily. First of all, it can be a total collapse of the internet, which is very plausible. It's kind of like everything we did on the internet. We don't even get to choose which sustains, which stays. We saw that with fluids, but here it can be Saturn Neptune in Aries can be fire. So There were the other astrologers talking about the timeline of the Cultural Revolution, and so on and so forth. Those things definitely can be. When empires shift, they definitely do try to conceal stuff, but they'll have to surrender things because they won't be able to fully control what leaks and what goes missing and what pops up um, after maybe decades or millennia. They're probably going to be megalithic historical revelations and the AI of them. So um, that's probably something that's predicted for this period of time. January 27, Mars conjoins Pluto. Degree 3, again, technology. I like it that Jupiter is already not on the 17th degree for a change, not on the 18th degree for a change. I like it that nothing other than Chiron is 22ing. I don't like it that Chiron is 22ing. I don't like it that Chiron is 22ing. I don't like to open a synodic cycle with Mars and Pluto and Chiron is 22ing. Not the first time we had it, but we're going in for another one. And how should I say that? This is, yes, this is a wound around technology and the identity of the assassin. Something I've already addressed. Something I've already addressed numerous times. It could also be the name. That's the Chiron 22 with Mars Pluto is kind of like my boss are killing each other, or so they think, and because they can wear a mask of and look exactly like somebody else. Yes, you know this is that this is just a very um, yeah, it's a cycle, and it's a 2.5 year cycle. So this um, what can I say? This is something that is not so simple. And if we thought we're done with the triple conjunctions, Venus and Mercury are conjoining 12 degrees of Aquarius. So messages, uh, particularly on diplomatic communication, the science behind. There's going to be even the question: is it AI? Is it not? If anybody's dating, then not now. Not now. 2.5 years. No, because when Venus and Mars meet, it's usually so romantic, and now they met in Capricorn discussing all this practical stuff. Um, like women cannot vote if they change their name to their husband's last name. Very sexy, very sexy. Not. um, so people are going to ask, is it real? Is it AI? Anybody is going to have a crush on an AI bot. Um, just optimize the AI to secure attachment, and this could be a solution. I mean, maybe AI has secure attachment, but unfortunately, it was programmed by a death cult, so it's not so promising. Um, More things. Um, like, is it AI or just a personality cult? It's probably something we'll be asking. So, um, and the moon will go over Uranus to add an interface of satire to the mix, because Venus is ruling Uranus in Taurus. Yeah, expect some weird stuff, you know. Yeah, somebody was laughing. At least nobody's trying to kill anybody. Um, so more on that stellium. Let's let it move forward. Fortunately, Mars will only conjoin Pluto on the degree for 1 day. It's fast enough. Moving. It's not like a Jupiter or something that can take a year doing the back and forth. Um, and then Venus, Mercury continue to conjoin until so far 15 degree, 16, 17. Okay. Sun is 11th degree Aquarius on February 28 or 9. We have on January 21st. That Neptune is Neptuning. Um, okay, this is where we begin the transition through. Chiron leaves 22nd degree, which is fantastic news, because if Chiron would be 22ing and Saturn Neptune meeting on 0 degree, as I think as it was in the last time, that would not be a good sign. But I like that Chiron is no longer. I mean, 23 can be bombs, but at least it's not 22ing. Or not. It's not the time to contemplate on this. Um, news that I'll be watching. This is going to be in the fifth house of Israel. And this is going to be in the eighth house of Netherlands 1800 chart. It's kind of like the bootleg chart. It's not Googleable. I saw it. It's, you can find it on my channel. You have the original channel, um, because which in itself shows something. So those are definitely charts I'm gonna check the news for, because any Cancer ascendant charts, okay, is not when something, when a stellium goes through the eighth house, nothing can be swiped under the rug. And it's going to be an eclipse there. So the themes that are coming up right now can be overwhelming. So um, they are all a part of the big story that unfolds to the story of the eclipse. More interesting charts to watch would be Taurus ascendants would have that in the 10th house. So the career, reputation, and even father figures or parent figures can be, or boss figures can be conspicuously turbulent because of the many happenings in Aquarius. Leo ascendants have that in the 7th. Um, Pisces has this in the 12th house. So Pisces ascendants, your 12th house is lit until Way less exciting than one would think it is, I have to attest. Um, Disappointedly. um, well, more more interesting placements. Libras. This is in the fifth house for Libra. So Libras have some fun. Scorpios don't. It's in their fourth house. Scorpios, your fourth house. You are most susceptible to be. How should I say that? You probably will be forced to renovate. I'm not saying necessarily to move, but definitely will be forced to renovate, um, redesign something. There could be more than one property here with all these, but just the stellium. It's like a lot of people are moving in. Okay, they're gonna be, the brothers and the sisters and the siblings and the parents and all the power relations around that. It could be an upbringing issue. Um, if you have like Rahu in Aquarius, that can be that if you were in diaspora, you could be actually returning. Um, because fourth house is origin, land of origin. When I had Rahu return, I was really surprised that I found myself in Netherlands because I was born in Israel, but this is a part of my lands of origin, and that was quite fascinating. Um, Particularly when it comes to origin, and I've talked about it in other places, but with Aquarius, there can be something unusual about the land of origin, or you may find out something um, that can be pertaining to children, because Saturn in the fifth house. Um, mm, 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 mm. And of course, Aquarius ascendants. Um, those are 2 decades. Yeah, if I think about Pluto going through Capricorn, I've known some Pluto Capricorn ascendants, quite, you know, quite significant. Um, and that means the eclipse is going to be in the first house with Saturn now in Pisces, but it will be in Aries already. Um, Aquarius ascendants, to a lesser degree than Capricorn ascendants, but Aquarius ascendants, this Saturn Neptune transit, because Saturn is ruling your charts, is, and again, to a lesser degree, Sun and Moon in any placement, um, this is going to be pinpointing you directly type of transit. So a lot of you Aquarians are, um, yeah, I can even think about my colleagues where somebody was coming up. I'm like, yeah, they're the ascendant. Um, so you're going to feel probably like um, you're going to feel pinpointed by the events of the world. Because Aquarius is always thinking about humanity, but here humanity is coming to Aquarius. And it's coming to provoke a question, but not for provocation alone. It actually wants a solution, wants a new structure, it wants change and revolution. And you're the revolution ascendant, so you're gonna feel like the world is coming over to your domain, and it could be at your business, it could be at your home, it can be um, even as you are going to the supermarket to buy something. You could be a little bit of a celebrity, but not in the like solar form, more kind of like, hey, Aquarius, are you going to rebel or something? Like, what's going on? So that is um, that I think is going to be the spirit. And Aquarius are used to steer in the pot. Um, I'm not saying not so much, but here they're facing them being the pot that's being stirred, in the sense that um, they are the ones that are being provoked to change, or kind of like almost required, because they are the Aquarius. Okay, thinking about it, when it's revolution time, and you think about, well, what about those leaders of the revolution? Are they doing something about that? With Venus, it can be, well, women's right to vote. Like, why do we actually have to have another revolution over that now? And it's going to be the Aquarius um, being at the center stage. It's kind of like, hey, Aquarius, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do about that? Um, but it can simply be that people come to the Aquarian here with their quests for revolution, but what needs to change in humanity. And the Aquarius is the one that talks about humanity and changes for humanity. So that is very, very personal and overwhelming. Okay, so it can be, again, it can be revitalizing, but it can also be overwhelming, um, because but for you Aquarians that have been waiting for the world to wake up, I know a lot of you, the ascendants, had Pluto 20 years in your 12th house, and you might have felt like you are on a crusade to awaken humanity, and humanity doesn't see a fraction of what you're trying to deliver. Now people are at your doorstep, and they're like, Aquarius, Aquarius, Aquarius. And they're like, oh, I've been trying to say that for 20 years. So, those of you that have been um, that have been in that position where you're like, when are people gonna wake up and are happy that people are finally starting to do something, starting to provoke the questions, starting to take action? You're going to be really, I don't know if happy, but you're going to finally see results to all the Pluto in the 12th house issue that has been a real challenge, probably on Pisces ascendant. So it's our turn to rooster. More interesting placements. It is 11th house for Aries ascendants, which can mean active social life, and that can be the activists that are called in. Midheavens Aquarius. Okay, your midheaven Aquarius, your calling is getting really, really accentuated. If you have midheaven in the last degrees of Aquarius, Sun, Moon, midheaven, last degrees of Aquarius, this Saturn, Neptune, and the eclipse in Aries, the Saturn, Neptune in Aries and the eclipse in Aquarius is personal. Okay, but it's not personal in the sense of, and by the way, even with the Moon, it's not personal in the sense of um, between you and your friends, or it's personal in the sense of um, what's happening with humanity is personal to you, and this is always so, me in Aquarian, but this is especially so um, with this upcoming eclipse and the stellium. Yes, there are other things like the third house. Watch for accidents with the third house, and that would be for Sagittarius ascendant. Second house, um, probably you're gonna be the people that are gonna say, "Hey, my money doesn't money anymore. What is happening?" So I have other videos on that you can watch. and get frustrated together. Um, yeah,